Hello, welcome to Real Talk. I am your host, Paul Britton, and we've got movie reviews. Two movies came out into theaters this weekend that I saw. More than two came out, just two that I saw though. I saw the big one, and that was The Devil Wears Prada 2. This is the sequel to the Anne Hathaway, Meryl Streep, Stanley Tucci, Emily Blunt blockbuster from 20 plus years ago, and it literally picks up 20 years later. Where are these people? And first of all, box office, what happened? This movie just really made a whole lot of money. It didn't domestically, didn't quite do quite as well as Michael did the week before. However, internationally, it did much better. Pushed $300 million in the first weekend. That's pretty darn good. And story wise, well, okay, look, this is a clear we're getting the band back together movie. And when I say that, what I mean is these kind of sequels are, you want to use the word nostalgic, but it's better than nostalgia because it doesn't, it's not just relying entirely on people's goodwill towards a certain feeling, place, or time. It really is relying on people's good feelings for a different place or time, and having a really good talented team together to put together a movie. And we get the same writer, we get the same director, and we get the four big stars to come back. What we find here is Andy, Anne Hathaway's character, is she had taken up, in the first movie, she had taken up a job as an assistant at for the editor-in-chief, I guess you could, I don't remember what exactly her title is, but the editor-in-chief for the for basically the stand-in for Vogue in this universe is called Runway. But Andy is a very serious writer and wants to get into journalism, and this role, this position that she lands and what she's doing is coveted, not because of the journalism, but because of the proximity to fashion, and it's something Andy just doesn't care about. And so in the first movie, we see that Andy learns to appreciate the fact that this world can be serious, and the passion that people have for this world is okay. We find at the start of this movie that Andy's doing something a little closer to what she wants to do, investigative journalism. She's at some kind of awards show for New York publications. And while she's at the awards show, she finds out, like, her and all of her fellow journalists at this one publication, they all find out they're all being laid off. And so where this is going. This is the death of journalism. This is how do we write, how do we keep the journalism going forward? But Andy finds out, and oh, by the way, I believe this is terrible. Meryl Streep's character's name is Miranda. And what we find ourselves with Miranda finding being in a little bit of hot water for a piece that the Runway magazine published, basically in support of a designer label that runs sweatshops. And Nigel, basically her right-hand man there at Runway, is still there, and but the editor, the publisher, is an older gentleman. It's the same publisher for the first movie. Is an older gentleman who is looking to hand it off to his son, And in order to get out of hot water, they agree, let's bring Andy back in to sort of run the features segment, basically bring a little bit of hard journalism to Runway. And you know, clash of personalities reignite and ensue. Andy has to rebuild her relationship and the respect of Miranda. Emily Blunt plays Emily, who is no longer with the magazine, is now runs not Coach, Dior, now runs Dior in New York, and you know, is a vendor now. And it's basically the first movie with different context, where the first movie was Andy needs to learn to respect this environment. This movie is Miranda needs to learn to understand where the world of journalism is going and respect what Andy can bring to the table. And look, I mean, it's a fun movie. It's a good movie. Is it as good as the first one? Not close, like not particularly close. But if you liked the first movie at all, 100, and you know, the first movie's not, you know, quote unquote for me. I say that a lot. The first movie's not for me, but it is for me in that it's a good movie with great acting, and you know, it's super fun, very funny, believable characters, great character progression. And the same thing happens here, except that you kind of know where things are going. And you know, to that end, what do you do with a movie like that? Like, sometimes you just have to sit down and say, you know what, I just kind of want to be entertained right now, and this movie is that. Like, the, you know, I would say of all of the movies that are in theaters right now, and of all the movies that I have seen over the last few weeks, you know, look, I friggin' loved oh my god, I can't even remember the name last week, but you you know, I've um there was a movie last week that I loved, but it's not going to be for everybody. Oh, I remember Mother Mary with Anne Hathaway. You know, I loved Mother Mary. I loved it. I'm not going to recommend that to everybody, you know, because it was a little strange. You know, like you kind of have to be in a headspace of, all right, let's go to strange. Devil Wears Prada too is not strange, but you still get Anne Hathaway, and she's just amazing. And you get Emily Blunt, and she's just amazing. And you get Meryl Streep, friggin' Meryl Streep. You get Stanley Tucci. You know, and there are far worse ways to spend 2 hours, you know, sitting in a dark space, enjoying some snacks. Devil Wears Prada 2 is just a really solid, good movie. I would be hard pressed if anybody said, "Oh my god, I love this movie. It's going to be one of my top 5 favorite movies of the year." That would seem weird to me. Like that would just be for the sake of nostalgia. I would be equally hard pressed if somebody said, "Oh, this movie didn't make any sense. It didn't work. What, you know, it's just a rehash and a retread, and it wasn't very good." Like that's baloney. It's perfectly good and fun, and it does exactly what it sets out to do. Here at Real Talk, instead of doing stars, we do tacos. And if a movie deserves a little bit of extra oomph to it, instead of doing like a half a star, half a taco type of situation, we add guacamole. Why? Because nobody eats half a fucking taco. This is just, you know, an all-star 3 taco movie. Just absolutely. If somebody, you know, the range on this movie is 2.5 tacos to 4 tacos, and it really just kind of depends on your feeling on it and where you want to put it in that range. Just anybody who says anything more than 4 is just being silly. Like and anybody who says anything less than 2 tacos plus guac is equally being silly. My next movie is Hokum. All right, so Hokum is a, do we want to call it a ghost story or a witch story? Take your pick. I'll call it it really is a witch story. So we're gonna go ahead and call it a witch story. Um, Adam Scott, who I mean, if you're like, who's Adam Scott? Adam Scott is from the movie Step Brothers. He plays Will Ferrell's brother. Uh, you know, Catalina wine mixer. And uh, the he's like in just about every frame of this movie. It's one of those. It's like we're following this guy Adam Scott. Adam Scott's character, Ohm Bauman. He's an author, and he's a dick. Let's just be fair, okay? Like we're gonna just be straight up, right up front. Ohm Bauman is a dick, and his farts don't stink, and it's very problematic when he is recognized, let alone is recognized while on vacation in Ireland. So he goes to we find him on his way to Ireland. He's his parents have died, so they make it clear his parents have died, and he has his parents' ashes, and he's taking his parents' ashes back to Ireland. When he goes to pull out a box to put the ashes in, he opens the box and there's a gun in the box. That's very important for later. He takes the gun out, puts the ashes in the box, and he's off to Ireland. No, he doesn't get caught by TSA carrying a gun or ashes. And he goes to a small inn in Ireland, backwoods of Ireland, where his parents went for their honeymoon. And when he gets there, you know, colorful Irish characters abound, and he finds out that the honeymoon, like he walks by the honeymoon suite and it's locked up. Like there's a big gate in front of the elevator that takes you to the honeymoon suite. What's going on there? It's haunted. The honeymoon suite is haunted. You can't go up there. Okay, good enough. And he spends about an hour just being an asshole, and he lovingly spreads his mother's ashes on a tree that where a picture of her was taken, where she had a picture of her taken in front of, and then when it gets time to spread his father's ashes, he just throws them out. Clearly, you know, there's something going on between the mother and between the father and the son, but he loves his mom. And then he starts being a drunk asshole at the bar, and we find out that his mom died in peculiar circumstances years ago, but his father had just recently passed away, and so that's why the trip back was delayed until now. And we also find out just how big of a dick he is. I mean, like, just an irredeemable dick. And then he attempts to commit suicide in his room, but is prevented. And this all leads to him being hell-bent, determined to help find the bartender at the inn who discovered him when he was trying to commit suicide, who he and the person who is accused of killing the woman, who clearly didn't do it, but is still the person of interest, believe that she has been squirreled away in the honeymoon suite. And let's kick off the ghost story. And one of the colorful characters explains how there's a witch that lives in the woods nearby, and you don't go out, don't linger in the woods at night. And this is a spooky witch / ghost story. It is a mood piece. It is just a vibes piece. It's not a horror movie in the strictest sense, but there's obviously a lot of elements of horror here. It is 100% a character study, but it's it's not always easy to embrace as a character study because the character you're studying is kind of crappy. Like Marty Supreme, but not quite as big of a piece of shit as Marty Supreme was. He's just an asshole, whereas Marty Supreme was like a flaming narcissistic, unrepentant asshole. Whereas this guy just knows he's an asshole, but lives within his own assholedom. There are things that happen in this movie that like, for example, the attempted suicide that like you can get where this movie goes without going there. So there are certain aspects there are certain decisions that are made in this movie that are really, really strange. But once you get past those, and once the real sort of hard ghost/witch story kicks in, it's quite good. Like this, it just, I just wanted focus from it throughout the entire movie. Like we needed to get to that third act about like 15 minutes quicker, or without quite so much assholishness. And also, if like, given how big of an asshole he was, maybe like consequences a little more than just he tried to commit suicide. But it's okay, because the ghost/witch story is really compelling. But like, it's 90 minutes of compelling. And so this is just me saying, even though it's not all super long, I think it's like an hour and 50 minutes, somewhere around there. Even though it doesn't have a lot of problems, like, too many problems, and great performances. It's 147. Yeah, 17 minutes shaved easy, and just A++. But that third act is fantastic. I frequently just talk about, I wonder, is this movie going to be able to land the plane? And this movie has a bumpy takeoff, but absolutely lands the plane perfectly. Not perfectly, but for as bumpy as the takeoff was, the landing is excellent. I'm also giving this one 3 tacos. It's not something that I would like run to see again, but man, if somebody said, hey, I kind of would like a funky, creepy vibe movie, this is a funky, creepy vibe movie, and it would be one of the first things that pops into my head. So this is real talk. We got movies coming out again next week. I don't think I'm going to do the Billie Eilish movie. I know it's Jim Cameron. You always have to don't mess around with Jim. Go see his movies, but I just don't know that I'm going to this time around. But there are things that are coming out. Sheep Detective being the one I'm most looking forward to. Mortal Kombat 2 being the one that I'm least looking forward to. But I probably, look, I have skipped a couple of major releases along the way here. I don't know if I can skip Mortal Kombat 2. I think I might have to see it. So that's what we're gonna end up doing. This is Paul Britton. This is Real to Real Talk. Go see movies, man. It's a good time to go see movies, because it's summer coming. It's getting really hot.